How we doing, guys? By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed we've done some small presentation tweaks recently. If you like us on this side of the screen, if you like some of the stuff we've been doing, Guz's been pulling up DK Live so we can easily transition. So we've been working on a lot of these transitions. If you guys appreciate it, we would obviously like and subscribe. I mention it almost on a weekly basis now. I'm almost turning into a semi-professional. It does go a long way. We are seeing some real organic conversations in the chat, in the comment section, and actually we have our first voicemail of the year because it was popular demand the guy was asking for. He basically said he thinks his English would translate better in a voicemail setting, which I actually appreciate because you get some kind of more human connection, which is kind of what this review show is all about. Not so much about like, did Gov get this right? Or was Donnie right here? It's more about why we play things and why we do things. And I really like that. So we're going to get into it tonight and show you exactly why we have some snowflakes in the lineups. And I actually thought this lineup would have done like if I was to play this slate over again, I don't know if I would change a whole lot in this lineup. So what I was thinking about doing was show the lineups that we built and then any major takeaways, anything personally you guys want to talk about from your lineups or from a major takeaway, and how we can just apply that for next week.
I have some just football stuff that isn't really fantasy related I want to talk about because I think there's just such a good week of football in general.
Yeah, well, it translates so well, Donnie. The question actually we have coming up at the end of the show is about the Steelers. So it's more of a season-long kind of perspective, but I just feel like you can correlate so much of it back to fantasy anyway. So that's perfectly fine for me.
I knew that Baltimore-Pittsburgh game was going to be so low. I knew to bet the under. I knew it was a crap game.
Oh, speaking of which, you got the information up for the people? Can we do our best bets?
Our spread picks.
Yeah, I can't pull it up because I haven't figured out a way to make it look presentable. That isn't blurry.
Who won?
But,
who won? Mirror the show pick. Who won?
Yeah.
Who won the pick?
Gov says he can still take his credit.
So basically, the whole thing's red except for 2 picks. Gov got one right. I got one right. Show pick is down to 6-5 from the year. Still positive. Still in a good shape. Logan got both of his picks wrong. It was Colts and Chiefs spread. That brings him to 7-14-1.
Cleveland sucks. Cleveland sucks.
I got the Colts right, didn't I? They were both 5.5.
It was -4 for the Colts, I thought, against the Jets. I have it as -4. It might have been +4. We can go back and check.
Hold on. I have it right here. Give me one sec.
I'm pretty sure it was at least 4, but I thought it was 5.
Okay, so, Logan, you had Indy +4.
It was +4. Okay, so my fault. I had that wrong. So Logan's at 8-13-1.
I'm proud of myself for remembering more than anything.
All right. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why it's a group effort here. We can't always
get
right.
We're all good, buddy. We're all good.
It wasn't that great of a week for me, so I got to remember my victories where I can get them.
So I am in second right now with 12-9-1, and Gov is still in first, quite ahead, I'd say, at 15-7. But keep in mind, this is pretty important as the winner of the spread picks does get to pick the captain of the showdown lineup for our Super Bowl teams.
By the way, last year we did the same reversal, and it was Gov who took our Super Bowl pick. You took Kyle Juszczyk in that game, and it worked out. So I like it. It gives a little bit extra juice. But in any hardcore
Juszczyk.
That's right. You picked up what I was putting down. But if anyone actually wants to go back and watch, like it is kind of a cool thing to track all season long.
And do we want to talk about actual football or look at fantasy stuff first?
Let's look at the lineup real quick. I was about to say, let's look at the lineup real quick, and then we can go over to DK Live while we talk actual fantasy or actual football stuff.
All right,
that works for me because I already have the lineup up. I will say to start, Donnie, you were right about Henry. I was really apprehensive, and the reason I was apprehensive actually still happened. Like Cooper was still involved. It just the Patriots really just use both tight ends, and I don't know how sustainable it is for like all season. I don't know if I'd want to play a bunch of Hunter Henry, but he is at a price point in this lineup.
Well,
you were right about that. I want to get
well,
that.
we'll just say this for PPR fantasy sites. He is, as of last week, he had a good week this week as well. He was 9th going into this past week for tight end fantasy points. So he's been pretty solid considering he's only 3,900 or was only 3,900.
Yeah. Do you think people are gonna like do that victory lap thing, go where it's like, oh, if I would have just played Taysom Hill, like, do we get that? Like if I would have played Taysom Hill, like automatically?
No, because tight end it can be a crapshoot. Like I agree. Like I'm looking at it here on DK Live. He's like the 8th best tight end. The only problem is 12 points still wasn't that bad. The only problem is you have Taysom Hill who scored almost 50 because he did every freaking thing on the field one day.
Yeah.
Best game of his career. He'll never top it. Let's be honest.
Like you knew it was in his range of outcomes. It's like, well, he can throw because he was a quarterback, and he's running it. He gets rushes, and he can get a receiving touchdown too. So like he can literally get the trifecta. The triple effect.
Look, we
played, whatever you want to call it.
We played Taysom Hill 3 weeks ago, I believe.
I think it was 2. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
I should have played him every week. He's been going off.
Right. So
it's him, Kamara, and like
insert MVM
and MVS. It's him, Kamara, and whatever receiver's not hurt that day.
I mean, Shakir had that role, so like at least that role that MVS is playing isn't imaginative. It isn't like a luck box thing. Like he is just playing.
No, like Shaheed was doing that earlier in the year. Like they needed the deep guy. MVS is their deep guy,
and he's actually catching passes for once. And in 2 weeks, he won't.
I was just going to say
exactly. He's due for a drop or two.
Well, to Donnie's point, I'm not automatically plugging in that MVS is like the automatic replacement or like that is sustainable. Like that's how I'm playing it. If that's the case, I'm probably going to lose for a few more weeks until it levels up. But I'm just going to play it that way. And I think that's how you have to attack the Tyreek Hill thing. It's like, yeah, you either play it for that upside, which we did a couple weeks ago. So we're not stupid. It just we picked the wrong week to do it because I got scared because his price went up. And I'm like, yeah, he's good for 12. I don't know if he can get 40. And guess what? He got 40. Like, but that's a higher end of it. I will say, for example, I'll switch over to Gulf screen just so you guys can see it visually. I also had a lineup that had St. Brown in it in my personal and lost. St. Brown had like 41 points, pretty much matched Hill, and I still lost. So don't fall into the trap of saying like, oh, if I would have just played the highest scoring guy, I would have won. I can attest that's not a sustainable way to build, because if you kind of use that mindset, you could, I just feel like you're going to get yourself in more trouble.
Well, I mean, Amon-Ra had his blow up game this year. What, for 2 years, Logan? That was probably our favorite play every week, pretty much. You just plug him in.
Yeah, and
he was so underpriced for so long, and now he's just caught up to the guys. And it's I don't know if I can play Amon-Ra anymore, and I'm going to have to eat the times he does that.
Look,
I gotta ask. Like, I'll ask Donnie in a sec. You go on, Logan.
No, I was just gonna say I got my exposure from the sportsbook in that game because I didn't want to dedicate too much in my lineups to it with bringbacks, and I didn't want to play Mac Jones. We had tried that experiment before. I didn't want to waste a tight end spot, which would have been Evan Ingram, because I felt like he was the only viable bringback given that Thomas was hurt. So like there was a lot of reasons I wasn't on enough Lions, although they were all good plays. So part of it is just like they have a really condensed or the opposite of condensed. They have a very wide open offense, and some weeks, you're going to just get so much diversity. I did play some Brock Wright. Now, luckily, I luck boxed some of that stuff. He got the touchdown. So, I mean, here and there. But go ahead, go. What do you have?
Well, I'm just looking at the lineup. So it's like knowing what I've seen so far, like Kyron got the volume I was sort of wanting in the game environment, like with the scoring. But what was it like? You'd have to tell me, Donnie, if you watched that game. Like, was Stafford just rolling over Gonzalez in the secondary?
Yeah.
Like, just eating them apart with Puka and Cup?
I
know both of them went off. Both of them had great games, but like, it looks like Kyron got work. He was just getting stuffed or something.
No, that's the thing. It was so weird because I expected the Cup and Puka stuff to happen because they've been so bad against route running receivers specifically this year. But Kyron, I was so shocked where the Patriots have been so bad at tackling, and Kyron's been such a strong back that just shrugs guys off. He didn't do that against the Patriots defense. He just didn't. No. And 86 yards isn't bad, but
I was about to say he's basically you break one for an extra 15, 20 and get a touchdown, and you immediately have a much different day.
Yeah,
I do.
And at low ownership, like I'm like, okay, that low owned play didn't hit, but the volume was there. It could have hit. It just had a weird day. Like I heard it was probably because you got that Brockmore, whatever,
Barmore, that's our nose tackle. Yeah, he's
you got
solid.
him back for part of the game, so like that may have helped, but then you get like Tillman.
The issue is the
didn't
linebacker
go off because Judy went off, so like that makes sense. Like other than that, this wasn't horrible.
Yeah, Judy had a 75-yard, basically a slant, like prime Odell situation. Anytime you're going to get that kind of role reversal on the field, you're just going to, that's a ton of yards that could have been distributed to your whole offense. That's only going to one player. So obviously, when it works in your favor, it's really exciting, but it does hurt the entire offense if you get these big plays.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, like the double with the bring back kind of worked. Like it didn't like. Would I have loved Kyron to have been Cup or Puka now, knowing after? Yeah, but like that's hindsight. Can't be kept hindsight.
I will say we rolled the dice on the right game. Maybe we didn't get the outcome. I do agree with Donnie's perspective. It was like Kyron who was wrapped in bubble wrap for the first time all season. Like on first contact, he was just going down. I don't know if it was precautionary. Maybe it was the Patriots defensive line getting healthier. I don't know what it was, but like they were not taking any chances. Also, Blake Corum's getting worked in more. So these are things that you should notice. Like, I'm not saying
to be honest, like if you just pencil Kyron in for like close to what Puka and Cup had, so give him like 19 instead of 8.
And that's where the tackling wasn't happening. So it's not like the Patriots magically learned how to tackle. They still can't tackle in the second and third level. It's just Kyron didn't break them off.
But Donnie, that's valuable. Like that's something we can carry into like week 12 and just feel like. This is something I'm going to carry over.
I'd have to look again. Like I may need to watch, see if I can watch that game again, and like see was it Brockmere or
Barmore was not the complete difference.
Yeah.
No,
if it wasn't Barmore, then I will have to look and see if it was Kyron. Like maybe end of the season, this is when he's getting tired. Maybe this is where Sean McVay notices and starts using Corum or that more.
Well, they definitely
we may have to watch that. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's something I'd have to dig into. But like, so that play, I understand why it didn't hit. If you would have penciled it in for 20, just like Puka and Cup did, then the only other mistake was JSN over Metcalf at the same price, which I had some JSN, I had some Metcalf. Because I knew one could go off, and both of them ended up being sub 10%.
And I ate the chalk, if you will, on being wrong and giving Donnie his kudos. I also have to be honest, transparently, I made another mistake in this lineup. I did not put Montgomery back in the running back slot. That seems like a silly, like non-sexual kind of mistake. But if this lineup was actually close to cashing or needed more points, these are like small mistakes that you shouldn't make. Like these are constructional things that I got to learn from, even as a veteran playing defense. As long as you got to dedicate time to small edges. That's like an edge that I left on the table that really will bother me. And so I hope if something like these are like learnable moments that we're trying to, convey to a more casual audience, hopefully you guys have seen it right away too, and you're screaming at, your screen.
And I guess the biggest snowflake, I mean, I'm sorry, at 39.5%, I'd rather take a snowflake with McCaffrey than take the chances of him having 50. Like,
I mean, again, another guy who got the volume, 79 rushing yards, only 4 catches, but
truly, I'd rather be on the McCaffrey snowflake side than be on the McCaffrey I lost because I didn't have him side.
I agree with that. Like,
at this price point, you have to play him.
Like right there, he has 14.6. If you turn that into a 2-touchdown game, same stats, just give him 2 touchdowns. 26. Okay, now I'm happy.
I do think that's a valuable perspective, and I think
like him not getting the touchdowns is the only thing hurting him right now.
Mm-hmm.
Second game back, still hasn't got a touchdown. So who do they play next? Who's this third game back? Third time's the charm.
It's Green Bay. It's Green Bay.
So a tough one.
I'm playing. Speaking of that game, I'm playing a lot of Jennings.
San Fran and Green Bay. That's always a tough game. Ooh.
They know each other very well too, given their offensive infusion with those two coaching staffs.
I always thought it was San Fran and Rodgers, so this might have been the first time San Fran's played Jordan Love.
I don't think it is.
If it can't be more than like it might only be like the second time. Like they haven't played in the playoffs.
I know one thing. I think Jennings is the best wide receiver that the 49ers have right now. Given that Kittle's injured, he's getting like 11 to 12 targets, and he's still in the 5K range. I know we don't do a ton of forecasting, but these are also like signals that I can pick up on to carry over for next week.
Can we see the other lineup?
Yeah, sure. But I was actually going to mention, because Gov was, apprehensive of like what was a good play this week. He was like, I don't have a really good, feel for the slate. And sometimes I feel like we look at whether it's a snowflake or whether it's a flame to say like we did well. We also have to remember that like with Christian McCaffrey or these higher priced guys, 14 is not good enough. Like 14 would have been fine for a lot of guys on this lineup or that lineup, but when you pay that much for some of these guys, we need better outcomes. So that does factor in.
First of all, I just want to talk about the tight ends that we played. Kelsey, to go for, I know they got healthy, but man, he's just back out to being out of the offense. He's not in the game plan. It feels like it is just not Kelsey anymore. So I guess we're just going to have to wait. That will probably be something that comes back in the playoffs when they absolutely need it. But right now they don't want him to, they don't want him to get the ball like he was before.
I don't know. They tried to get Worthy involved in this game, and Worthy did that stupid thing he sometimes does and just forgets where he is on the field and literally stepped out of bounds, similar to what he did a couple weeks ago in primetime. I feel like if he keeps making these mistakes, we're going to see more of a veteran leadership, whether it be Hopkins or
Hopkins. I know it's small.
We should be seeing Hopkins and Juju like 1-2 anyway.
I think we're going to start to see more of that personally. That's how I'm reading the situation.
As long as they're healthy. But I could definitely see like if Worthy keeps effing up, like you'll see more Watson. You'll see you might like I'm forgetting who else they have that could go deep right now. Do they still have Mecole Hardman? You might see Mecole Hardman here late in the year.
Yeah.
I will just say, because I think it's the most important play from that Buffalo Kansas City game. It seems so small. But it was a third down, and Mahomes rolled out. I'm pretty sure it was a third down. Mahomes rolled out, and there's no one there. Clearly, Hopkins couldn't get himself open. And all of a sudden, it's a zone, and Hopkins just moves himself back, and Mahomes finds him 10 yards deeper than he should have been. That's the play that Kelsey used to make. Now, if it's going to be Hopkins and Mahomes and Hopkins get on that page, that's important. Kansas City's looking real good if they can get that to work.
Yeah, no, like he can really get that going with all of his weapons. Like
Worthy
is the one who's being kind of a dum-dum.
Yeah, it takes a veteran to be able to know, hey, I can back up for my quarterback here, and he's going to find me.
Yeah,
it's not easy to do, and honestly, you could really screw up a play if you do it wrongly. So that's why a lot of the young guys aren't allowed to do it. But if Hopkins and Kelsey clearly we know is allowed to do that, that opens up a lot of things for this Kansas City offense.
That's why I'm not giving up on Kelsey personally. I'm glad you brought it up, Donnie, because it did look like Mahomes was deflated after Worthy stepped out of bounds, because it wasn't not like he did it or made a mistake. It was like basically the same mistake. Like he didn't get his feet in bounds. He got excited because he was wide open. It's like, yeah, we know Worthy can get open. Like the problem is it's all empty air yards unless he actually converts it. And so like to that point, I'm more encouraged by Kelsey still being a trusted member, even though he didn't have the game, than I would be.
I think it's the Gronk thing. You're just saving it for the playoffs at this point. Why drain out the old man and when you could save it for the time you'll actually need it? They're getting along just fine without him right now.
Yeah. I don't know. They dropped his price by like $500.
They lost their first game. Boo-hoo.
Yeah. Right. Like, truly, that's probably how Kansas City feels. We lost to Buffalo in the regular season. Okay.
In Buffalo.
Okay.
Like, first loss, week 11, in Buffalo. All right. We know what we got to do to beat them. And they're going to have to come to us.
But a report just came out from The Athletic, so I guess I want to just touch on it. Apparently, the Jets owner wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers back in week 4, and the coaches refused, which is interesting. That organization, man.
Too, right? Like they're like
they just fired their GM today. Yes. So things are starting to leak. I know earlier today also there was the leak that the Jets players are so done with the season and they just want it to be over. So I'm very interested to see how this. I would not touch anything Jets the rest of the way. They've
been toxic, and maybe you're right, Donnie. That gas leak is starting to leak. And
I mean, this is more than just a gas leak. It's exploded, Logan.
But I stopped playing the Jets a while ago.
I mean, I'm just saying in general, like nothing
so
Jet. The fact that it's leaked that the team, players on the team just are done with the season, that is such a bad culture that I don't think I've ever heard that in week 11 of an NFL season. No matter how bad a team is, to lose everything, lose your pride. I mean, come on. That's disgusting.
And that's the thing is, like, speaking of pride and being honest and having that reflection, that's what we do in these review shows. I'm showing you this lineup. I'm not ashamed of this lineup. There's mistakes in this lineup, and I can say, well, I wish I would have not done that, or like, I have to take it. But I feel like that's the accountability that hasn't happened with some of these teams, including the Dolphins, for example. So I'll ask it this way then. What about this lineup that did not work, that should not have worked? Like, where are you really ashamed, or like where we really messed up? Is there anything where we can hold ourselves accountable?
We kind of talked about Jefferson against a good Tennessee pass defense, and then
I was literally about to say, like, the one thing I don't like and remember from this was Tennessee's defense has been good. Do I really think Jefferson's going to ceiling because he had to at his price? Like, it's not like, oh, he can get to be like the third or fourth dude on the slate and be fine. No, Jefferson had to be the number one dude on the slate to pick.
It's almost like what I talked about with CMC. It's like
2% owned is intriguing, but like it's still
it was 2% for a reason. I mean,
exactly.
Truly,
like I don't mind playing him at 2%, but I see why. Like, okay, that was a little too much.
I think
Mahomes same way, but again, Mahomes just got you a solid 17.
Yeah, wasn't the reason why we played Jefferson because was it Snead? Is that his name? Snead wasn't playing, or we thought Snead might not have been playing. I'm not sure if he even played.
I forget what it was. Like I thought
it was the corner. It was the Kansas City corner that came over.
Yeah, like a corner. Yeah, it was something about a corner. It's like, but like no, Tennessee's defense has just been good all year.
I liked him because all of Sam Darnold's mistakes came the previous
with
week.
The Broncos D. Like, why estimate? Why?
Well, actually, that was a game script where it made sense. Like, if Estime was going to pay off, it was going to be in a blowout win, I would have thought.
That's why I was proud of this. Because I'm like it was my risky, stars.
And it's 9%. It wasn't like, oh, we just pulled a rabbit out of nowhere. No, there was clearly people on this for a reason.
Yeah, usually when I have my stars and scrubs built, I am a bit of a magician. I am trying to pull something that has like possibility, but Gov can attest to this. Sometimes I try to outsmart myself, and I almost turn the wand inwards, and that kind of magic ends up hurting me.
Well, and then I know we should talk about this too. The flat 0 from Allen. What the hell was that? When did Parkinson all of a sudden turn back into the number 1 tight end here?
Shut up. I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to.
That's just so annoying.
No, I don't even talk about it. I took that 0 too. Just got to take
I
that.
didn't.
Gotta
I actually didn't
take the L, Donnie. Take the L, Donnie.
Here's
we all got to take that L.
Yeah.
That's an L. That's 16% L. Should have taken that L. Got to take that L.
And Taysom Hill went off that same week.
I took that L. I got to take that L.
Oh my gosh. I think it was a good play. I almost played
They scored 28 points through the air. I got to take that L.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to avoid it, but I do think the one valuable lesson is something that Gov really brought home the previous week, and that's why I can attest that this kind of review works. Is last week I had a ton of Kamara. I had a ton, and I remember contacting Gov like an hour before the flight, and I'm like, I love Kamara, but I think I'm overexposed. And I got off him that week and played some. I think it was Breece Hall that weekend. Neither play really worked, but the idea is not to overextend yourself. And so this week, when I was building my personal, I'm like, we already have this Allen lineup. I have another Allen lineup. Let me not go 100% into Allen. And so I didn't. I literally got up to Brock Wright on FanDuel because you could play it over there. He was cheaper. I got to Will Dissly over on FanDuel because you could play the Sunday night game. So, and then on DraftKings, I even did it. I played the Seattle Seahawks tight end AJ. I think it's Barner or Barnett, something like that. So like that is a lesson. Like when you take a chance on these low-owned guys, they're gonna burn you with 0 sometimes. But you know what? We saw it. I think it was week 4 or 5, a 0 with Juju Smith-Schuster at like 30% owned, won the Millie. So.
And I agree with that completely. Like, and diversify everything. Like, the one other thing I don't like about our lineup here is really in comparison to our other lineup. We have Metcalf in both. JSN was the same price. We should have had one Metcalf, one JSN.
What? And you know what? It wasn't until you mentioned it just now. It pisses me off because I remember we did this similar mistake in week 2 where we had Mike Evans. And we played him, I think, in both lineups instead of going Evans and Godwin.
Yep.
So we keep making some of the same mistakes. So these are valuable even for us. We got to get
now
better.
The way we build our lineup, we're not like building them as a portfolio. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. Like we build our bottom up build and then we do our draft.
Yeah.
So like we're not really thinking about it as a portfolio sort of thing. Although maybe we should.
Yeah, still, maybe that's a process thing we'll go into next week and say, well, a new rule would be we can't repeat a player unless it's clear value.
Yeah.
Yeah, or at least being able to explain it. You don't want to put too much handcuffs on yourself, but at least really have that conviction if you're going to play.
If we're repeating a player, we should have to double take and look over it and say, does this make sense? Can we get
because we also had McCaffrey in both lineups, but I don't mind that as much.
No.
Right.
Although maybe we should have had more of like Jennings in that. But like to be fair, if I was playing Jennings, I was playing Purdy, and we didn't get to Purdy in either line.
Mm-hmm. A big influence of mine is 1 week season. So JM, the founder over there was talking about how like you can play these double stacks or you can like 2 chalky guys, but you have to play it right. And Gov is right. I don't think you could play CMC at his price and also need that offensive upside from that offense, whether it be a Kittle or another wide receiver in this case, and not have a quarterback. So that's where you got to be smart because let's be honest, I think that one lineup, it was the other one that we were looking at, but we got Drake May at 19 points. That lineup almost got there because we did trust the double stack there. So you can handpick these things. The problem is like when you pay for a CMC or a Justin Jefferson, you have to believe that you're going to get that not that 30, because Gov mentioned it off air last week too. It's like so many people chase the big scores, or like a Taysom Hill. the people are going to chase that next week. So it's not so much that, it's just you have to have a baseline of what you expect.
After this Taysom Hill game, and obviously Taysom's old and he's not, his role is pretty set. I don't know if I can ever play Taysom Hill again in his career unless he just drastically drops in price, because he's going to be so overpriced from here on out.
I'll be honest.
I'm going to play him every week of the season the rest of the year.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to mention that. Me and you have played long enough. Usually when
I know where I see fucking volume and where they're going to run a dude into, like, I thought they were going to
now,
run
well, Kamara has been awful since his, like, a month ago when he got all those injuries stacked up. He has not been effective. I don't
Which
care.
is why they need to give more work to Taysom Hill to get Kamara ready for a late season.
But is he going to be?
They're going to do anything? But those are the healthy guys that can play football.
I haven't seen his price, but I expect Taysom Hill's price to jump up to like $5,000 at this point.
I have no idea what it is. They might be on buy. Who knows?
I can attest that Gov does believe this. Like, Gov, as soon as he sees volume, he will play it until the wheels come off. I'm the opposite. I remember, I think it might have been the first year we really started to build together and be in the same circles. Gov.
It's the only reason I played Judy this week. I was looking, it's like, he's also getting the same Tillman work. He's just Jerry fucking Judy.
Yeah. But I'm kind of more like Donnie, where it's like, that's where you guys got, when you have your timesheet, just like if you're in a job and you punch the clock and you're on the clock now, you have to know why you're at work. Like, we all go to work, we all have different roles, but you have to know why you're doing things. And I'm just not going to chase it. But at least I know when Gov chases it, he's going to chase it smart. You're not going to play Hill as a one-off if you're playing it, most likely, because he'll be too high owned or, priced up. So to be fair,
I'll definitely figure out a good way to play him. True.
To me, essentially, if he's $5,000, you're playing him as a running back. In that case, right? I know he can do other things.
If he's $5,000, I'm playing him as like a running back receiver.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, he's more of a flex spot. He might not make it in your flex spot, but he's essentially
he's kind of like he's like the opposite of a Debo or Jaden Reed in that I know he's getting rushes and he might get a target or two. Whereas Jaden Reed get like 4 or 5 targets, plus they might get a rush or 2.
Yeah, in a pass attempt is very possible. He had 2, I think, last game and an interception. So.
Oh, yes, he could throw a touchdown.
It's very similar to Lamar Jackson. It's like
he could even catch a touchdown.
He could block a punt and return it for a touchdown, honestly.
Or he could never get on the field and break another rib, and we don't see him the rib. Like, all these outcomes.
Why would you say such a thing, Logan? I know
because it's very possible. Yeah. So, but I like this review. What were some of the real football topics you wanted to bring up, Donnie?
I just want to talk some Bengals because truly, I know the MVP award, blah blah blah. Joe Burrow has played the best football. The most desperate, best football I've seen in a long, long time. And he cannot win a damn.
He threw 50 fucking balls. Oh, my God.
Ducking sacks, breaking off some of the best tacklers in the league just to lose. How devastating has that got to be week after week after week? You can see it at this point.
Okay, we don't have
Chargers are a good football team, dude.
Yeah, okay. We don't have a whole lot of victory lapping to do. We should you live. We do have one basketball team that is killing it right now, has Chase and Joe Burrow. I can't speak about it anymore because Joe will totally arrest me. But that team has been very fun to watch because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have just been going crazy.
I mean, Burrow has played the best football of his career. Some of the most, truly, this is the definition of hero ball. It's not even just the stats; it's the eye stuff too. How many quarterbacks can throw off Joey Bosa and throw off Derwin James and then still throw a pass downfield?
That's also why I've been very low on the Bengals. When we do our season previews, which you can obviously see in our off-season content, I've been low on the Bengals for the last 3 years because I don't trust their coaching staff. I think Joe Burrow's injury history is partly due to him having to carry such a heavy workload and unfair, almost like a wrestling analogy is what I want to make. It's like when you're asking your superstar, wrestler to always be at the house shows, to always be the main event, to always have to carry the show, to be the show stealer, to be the show stopper, to sign the autographs. Like, they're asking him to do too much right now. And I don't know. I like to watch it. It's fun to watch, and he's been in a ton of showdowns, slates, and like I've played him, and like I guess I give it bad rap because I want to cheer for the talent. The coaching staff has been a very bad coaching staff. Like I think we'd be talking fireable offenses for Taylor if it wasn't for Joe Burrow.
I don't know if you guys agree, and obviously you've watched much more football in your life than I have. But I can't think of any other season for any other player that's been this early on playing full hero ball continuously, successfully, and it's still not mattering. Like
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, that's what this is.
There were a lot
right
of
now.
hero ball years with the Lions. Like that's what
that is
like
true.
Right now.
Yeah,
you got to get that defense fixed. Like everything else is working on. Like this is like Dallas from a few years ago. Defense is god awful, but like everything on the offense is clicking, so it just keeps putting up points.
We mentioned the Alliance. I'll just let it come full circle. We got DJ Reader this year. He's been tremendous for our run defense, and that's what we're seeing with the Bengals. Is they're getting just demolished. And
you lose Reader, you lose Bates to the Falcons.
Yep,
it's added up a lot.
And those teams are looking better. So like there is culture changes on a defense that really does matter.
But no, that's a good point. It is a lot like the early 2010 Lions that just they couldn't do anything if Stafford wasn't carrying it. But I don't even know if it's just so bad, man. It's hard to watch. I'm
glad you brought that up because seriously, if you looked at my season previews from this offseason, you'd think I would just hate Joe Burrow. That's not the case. I have him on a basketball team.
You were very low on Joe Burrow for his early career, though.
Yeah,
and then you turned around and when Chase had that stint of being hurt.
No, I was because I don't like his long term because he's an older prospect, and I really don't like that coaching staff. I think Taylor is like by far like one of the worst coaches in the league. Like truly, I think he's
running off that Super Bowl still. I mean, there was a lot of shenanigans in publicity.
Which I'll be honest, I don't think he even deserves. Like he doesn't deserve credit for that.
To be fair, the Eagles, they saw it too. They saw the signs. They got off Peterson, even though he had the Super Bowl credibility. It's sometimes you got to just pull the plug on it.
And any other like actual football takes that you think are
we got that
fancy?
We got that comment to go through the voicemail.
Yeah, let's go to the comment.
Make sure you have it pulled up on the screen so people can hear it.
That's a good point. By the way, if you guys want to leave, I'm going to put this in my Twitter bio as well, and I'll do a better job this week of getting it through because, like I said off the top of the show, I do think it's kind of cool to actually hear because then we get the context of your question. So we'll play this and then we'll respond. But thanks for the question, by the way.
We can't hear it if you're switching tabs. You have to switch the tab over for us.
Oh, I did.
No, it's still on DK Live.
Fair enough. Hold on. I had the volume cranked way up, and so it was nice and loud for me. So I want to make sure I do this right now. Oh, it's because I think it's because I got it.
You're sharing the wrong screen. That's the problem.
Well, it's because I transitioned too many times, so I should be good now. Hopefully.
Right.
Bring it back to the start.
Let's listen to the.
Hello, good afternoon, guys. How are you doing? Thank you for the episodes every week. My question is, what do you think of the Steelers' performance this year? They're 7-2, and I think they're doing a great job on the offense. So what do you guys think?
I can definitely correlate my answer to fantasy because I'm confused by this team, but I'm going to let one of you guys go first.
Can you pull DK Live back? I want to go last, honestly.
Okay.
I have no problem going first. Like it's an Arthur Smith offense, so I can't trust it to do anything spectacular in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's an amazing defense. So, like, the offense won't have to do much, and it'll still keep winning games.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it'll be – I've already had – like, I saw their run early. I'm like, even if this team, like, wobbles, like this will probably be a surprise team in the playoffs in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we all think Buffalo, Kansas City, but if there's one team other than that to get by, I think it's either Baltimore or Pittsburgh. I would say Pittsburgh more, but that's because I don't trust Baltimore.
I think that's what a lot of people don't know about the Steelers, because we think of Arthur Smith and we automatically assign a label, and then we look at the division and we say they're pretty good. So then we don't know what to do with the Steelers, other than to know traditionally they're going to be good. I will say, for our credit, and Evan was along with us when we drafted this team, and he was high on them as well. We wanted the Steelers to be something. We wanted to believe in them. But the reason I was pushing back against it was I didn't know what to believe. Like, was it Russell? Was it Fields? Was it both? Do they eat into each other? But there was pieces I wanted. I wanted the rookie. I like Kelvin Austin. I wanted a single game showdown on Kelvin Austin this week. This season. We drafted Roman Wilson. I wanted him to be a thing. But that just shows you that there was so much indecision or an undiagnosed problems or excitement with the Steelers. I didn't know what to do with them. Like, if you told me that Russell was the full-time starter from week 1, I think I would have been overexposed to them in best ball. We took Justin Fields for the first 3 weeks of that this season. They looked like a totally different team. They looked more like Arthur Smith run game. Now with Russell and George Pickens, who we also have because I liked his high upside, now that's coming through. But even that, we couldn't get it all in one season. So as fun as the Steelers have been, I still feel like they're the damn tornado that I don't want any part of. Because they're so hit and miss. I don't know what to think of them. I don't know what to do with them. I think I'll fade them as a playoff team when it comes to the playoff slates, and it comes to if we did a best ball playoff, I want to watch it. I'd want to, watch it and see what happens, because they do have some good young talent, but I don't trust it. I'll be honest.
I've got a very definitive take on this as well.
Right.
Truly, I do not think this Steelers team has any chance to make noise in the playoffs. They might win a game based on matchup. They have no chance against the top dogs. I don't see them being able to go up into a Baltimore and winning. I don't see them being able to go into Kansas City and winning. See them being able to go into Buffalo and winning. They're just going to be one of those filler teams in the playoffs that have make some noise here and there, have talent. Then you're going to realize, oh wait, once again, like the last 10 years, it's just Pittsburgh. They're going to lose in the first or second round, and that's how it is. They're stuck in this NFL purgatory.
I forget you're young. So you're thinking the last 8 to 10 years, they'll just be this team that's always been 500 and occasionally they make the playoffs and they do and then are just done.
This just
you don't remember 20 years ago when they were the same team going 500 every year, and then all of a sudden they win 11 games and make a fucking Super Bowl.
Yes.
This just feels 2015. Killer bees.
They did it with a second-year quarterback who sucked.
And this just seems like the 2015 Killer Bees, Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, Chris Boswell, and there was another B name, Le'Veon Bell. That's what this team feels like, and it's so infuriating. I'm sick of these mediocre teams always squeaking in and never doing anything.
No. See, I'm trying to remember what's the year. You might know this. You remember when did Pittsburgh play Arizona in the
2009, 2010?
That's what this feels like to me. That's what this, or even before. When did Pittsburgh play fucking who was it in 2008 or 2003 maybe?
But
it was Ben's second year.
Ben was there for that was the Cardinals win. Then they played the Packers and lost in 11.
Yeah, that's correct. Now this is easy solve. This is easy solve. The guy that asks us this question is with us every Saturday. he asked this question because he's a huge Steelers fan. We did talk a bit off air with him. He's a huge Steelers fan, so I know he'll have all the answers for us in our comment section this Saturday probably as well. Hopefully you guys will join us as well. But I got to be honest, Donnie, I don't want to dox your age here and treat it like, oh, you're young, so your opinion doesn't matter. But you honestly were not alive, I don't think. Like, you weren't even a thing when they won that Super Bowl. So, like,
yes, I was.
I'd say he's not that young. He's not 13, dude.
I remember the Super Bowl. I know what happened. I know all the plays from it.
Yeah, he was 7 years old.
Yeah, I was
my first Super
And
Bowl.
I'm
I
a
remember.
football historian. Come on. I've watched all the Super Bowls for the last 25 years and seen it all.
the problem is
Have you?
Yes, actually, I have. I'm not very proud of it.
Have you?
we actually forecasted a lot of things that happened this year. We were higher on Denver. You know, you can see that in our best ball exposures. You know, Donnie was right about Tracy from the Giants. You know, we were right about a lot of these guys, even the ones that didn't work out. You know, I remember Gov saying he wanted a piece of the run game from the Chargers, so we took Vidal. You know, obviously that should have probably been J.K. Dobbins, but they were both going cheap at that point, so we just took the one that was available to us on our round pick. So even the stuff we were right about, and when we got it wrong, it's unfortunate, but I still don't want to trust it. Even when we got it right, and like, oh yeah, we believed in these, you know, Denver teams and these Steelers teams, and I don't like come DFS playoff time. I'm not playing much Denver and I'm not playing much Steelers. I guess I'll lose to this guy, the Steelers fan, if that happens.
I think truly, if we saw a Denver-Pittsburgh matchup in the playoffs, I just couldn't stand it. The storylines, just for a bad football game that's going to end 7-3 in a Steelers win. Oh God, I can't handle that week of build up.
That'll be one of the most amazing Saturday playoff games ever. I'm using my NFL Legends voice because it serves.
It'll be
Iron Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Denver Broncos.
The Russ return.
No, that's too much like broadcast.
The Russ revenge game.
Oh God.
Versus Bo Anthony Nix.
Yeah, you're right. They would.
I'm sure I just added an Anthony where it's not supposed to be.
No, they would definitely do that on the broadcast. But your voice, Gov, is like one of a national broadcast. This game would definitely be like a streaming.
No, I can't wait to watch that on Peacock. You're absolutely right, Gov. I'm so excited to watch that game on Peacock for it to be 7-3.
Exclusively on Netflix.
Look, that's the sad part is like there are still exciting parts about the Steelers team that I've always been a George Pickens guy. But
no, I do think the Steelers will be a tough out, but I just don't see them having a chance against the top dogs.
I will eat crow. I did not think Russ had any gasoline in him. And not only does he have gasoline, he's ignited that gasoline. He
looks
fire,
really
right?
good.
Mm-hmm.
Even the games where he hasn't looked great, I mean, it really shows how bad those Denver teams were. And I don't care what we say. Yeah, he's a weird guy and all, and he didn't get along with the coach probably because he got yelled at a bit too much. And if you get him in the right environment, he can cook.
Weird guys work when they feel appreciated, and maybe it didn't work there because he wasn't, you know. So like it happens.
I mean, you got to admit it must mean a lot to Russ to say, "Hey, the Steelers were winning, and he was the definitive it's my job guy." No one bought it. Let's be honest. When he kept saying it's my job, you know what? No one thought that was true. Everyone thought they were holding him out and being respectful, and just it was his job, and he's really shined.
Yeah. So there's no good transition to do. There's nothing fancy we can do. The only thing I wanted to close on is, guys, we cannot control the outcome of these games. The only thing we can do is look at projections. We can look at statistics. We can look at trends. We can look at targets like we talked about a lot today. You can do these things. This is when you do the work. This is when you win the slate for week 12. It starts today, tomorrow. because it's finding these small edges, whether it's a route share, whether it's a matchup, these type of things. Like, I'll talk about it for the next 5 hours every day until Sunday. But once Sunday happens, that's the fun time. That's the time where you go and get the chicken legs and the nacho cheese, and you invite the friends, and have the slice of pizza then, because that's the fireworks show basically. At that point, all the what am I trying to say? The display of it is over. So this is the time where you got to really dive deep, figure out not only who you want to play, why you want to play them, but play the right contest, diversify your portfolio. All that's important. Any other thing you guys want to mention before we get out of here?
No, well, I'll say week 12 will be very interesting in my opinion, because we have a lot of good bye weeks coming up. Like, the Bills are not playing, Bengals aren't playing, Falcons aren't playing. There's 3 other teams that I'm forgetting, but there's a lot of, you're going to have to adjust.
I will say,
a lot of our player pools will be narrowed down. The Saints aren't playing, no Taysom Hill. It's going to be interesting.
Now, Gov can attest to this as well, because we've been playing long enough. These are weeks where things get really gross because of bye weeks, like you mentioned, Donnie, and these are weeks I usually do well in. These are weeks where I played Jaron Stidham from the Raiders a couple of years ago. These are weeks where I play Will Levis his rookie year when no one wanted to believe in him.
We already know you're playing Tommy DeVito. You don't have to beat around the goddamn bush.
I said I was playing Tommy DeVito first. I want that on the record. I beat Logan to it.
Dam.
I beat Logan to it, and he told me gross at first.
Hey, Logan, you might need to have your button and just end the show right now, because guess what? I'm playing Tommy DeVito.
Oh, all right, that's it.
No.
Yeah, you got to end the show. There's nothing else to say. Come talk Saturday. I'm playing. Peace out.
I will not call him Tommy Cutlet. That's not happening. This is a lot.
I will call him Danny on the show every time we talk about him on Saturday. Just nothing else to